Good morning and welcome to the Daily Live Briefing for Monday, the 9th of December. I'm Stephen Ridgway. There are high severity vulnerabilities in QNAP devices that allow remote attackers to control the system one way or another. More than. There are 6 broad vulnerabilities, some of which are actually being tracked under more than one CVE number. So it's actually quite a lot. I'm not going to read out a list of numbers for you. You can look them up on the articles that will link to the briefing. The issues affect various versions of QNAP's QTS and QUTS hero operating systems. And users are urged to update their devices immediately. So the fixed versions are QTX 5.1.9.2954 build 202.4.120 and later. And UTS 2.2.2950 build 202.4.1114 and later. And then there are 2 versions of QUTS Hero, H5.1.9.2954 build 202.4.1120 or later, 5.2.2.2952 build 224.1116 or way to work out if pending is to log in to the administrative console, to the control panel system, and then firmware update. You can check for update. For critical updates. So if you are using QNAP, QTS or Hero operating, then definitely now to get the patches in place. Okay, so I was about to say, and here's an interesting article. So yes, okay, here's an interesting article I came across on Bleeping Computer this morning, talking about how QR codes can be used to bypass browser isolation for malicious C2 communication. So, little bit of background to put this into context that makes some sense. I think we're all aware of the fact that C2 communications often utilize HTTP. Still, sadly, most organizations don't properly control outbound connections, their devices or from their networks. So, good architecture would be, well, don't let any critical servers talk directly to the internet, initiate connections out to the internet. And if they have to talk to the internet in some way or another, restrict where they can go to and what they can do. Yeah, most people don't do this stuff. And malware makes use of that very generic weakness, common and generic weakness in the architecture of systems and networks to communicate to C2 servers, command and control servers. So one of the ways that this can be, the effectiveness of that can be limited, is by instead of allowing a browser on a device to talk to external web servers, let's say, in normal operation, and even better, pushing the stuff through traditional proxy, is that you push the connection through a cloud-hosted ephemeral device, which actually does the browsing. You then stream back the image, an image of the website as seen by the ephemeral cloud-based device. So your browser isn't interacting directly with the web server. It's simply in the same way that virtualization basically just draws you the screen, as it were, of what's going on somewhere else. It effectively does the same thing, but within a browser. This is kind of cool because it does mean then that if you are in a position where you have to browse sites that you are concerned about, the actual browsing is done somewhere which is A, under your control, and B, doesn't really matter, and C, is isolated from the devices that you are viewing this from. So generally it's an evolution of using sacrificeable virtual machines in order to do things. Kind of cool. However, using that methodology would, or does, in fact, interrupt malware communication to C2 servers, because instead of the communication going out from the device that's been compromised, it then triggers a process by which those communications are effectively attempted from, or well, in fact, it just breaks the stream, because the stream doesn't go back to the device that's been compromised. It goes off to the ephemeral browser device. So in order to get round this, Mandiant, who's been doing some research in this space, have discovered the possibility of effectively bypassing the controls using QR codes. So now, a little complicated, but the article in Bleeping Computer is, as always, is a very clear article. It sets out how overall browser isolation works, and also demonstrates how codes it is possible to bypass that protection. Now, it may be that as a protection, it's not perfect. However, it doesn't mean to say that it is completely useless as a way forward. I think it means that there's just some more development that's kind of needed in the space. But I would recommend you have a read of this, because firstly, because I think a lot of people are not either aware of using browser isolation as a method by which to protect the local browser, local devices, and to make it more complex for compromised devices to talk to C2 servers. But also, if you are aware of this and you're working in environments where the potential for these slightly more sophisticated compromises to be seen, it's good to understand exactly how this stuff works. So recommend you have a read of that one. And then finally from me today, Cybersecurity News has posted an article which I think is brilliant in its simplicity, and it's basically saying one of the things that you can do to protect your mobile devices is simply switch them off for 5 minutes a day. There's been some research that looks at how compromised mobile devices behave, and it has become clear that a lot of malware on mobile devices interrupted by reboot. In which case, simply turning off your device can disrupt many forms of what they say as many forms of modern spyware. It helps, therefore, with safeguarding privacy, but prevents apps from tracking user activity or gathering sensitive data. It is a very simple solution, and we always used to turn off devices, didn't we? This whole idea that devices could just be left running forever. I've been in the game long enough to remember when, if you didn't reboot your Windows machine every day, by day 2 it was running so slowly that you were kind of forced to reboot it. I also remember at the time that Unix and Unix-like operating systems were astonishing, and that you could leave them running for very significant periods of time and nothing seemed to go wrong. Remember looking at old Solaris machines that have been up for over a year, thinking this was absolutely extraordinary. Well, I mean, okay, it's rare that you don't reboot your mobile phone at least once a year, but it isn't something that people are doing regularly. So I think it's an interesting reminder that sometimes very simple things can be used to great effect in cyber defense, which without becoming particularly intrusive or difficult to execute. Okay, well, that's all from me for this morning. I hope that you have a good start to the week. And I will speak to you all again tomorrow morning.